saw lots of prominent people in the crowd, and I saw people that had been friends. I saw a former law partner sitting across the room, and my accountant was in the room. I turned to a fellow behind me who was an independent movie producer, and I said, "Al, I know what I'm doing here tonight. What are you doing here?" He said, "Because, Connie," he said, "I'm taking a course in Unity, a course in miracles at Unity." He said, "We are required to take a spiritual growth class when we join Unity. And I'm taking a course in miracles, and it's a class requirement that we attend." And I gave him a quick synopsized version of my objections to what was taking place that night, and he thanked me. And then Benjamin Krem walked in, and he did something with his hands. I don't know how to replicate it. It was like a wave. It looked something like that. And simultaneously, about everybody in the room but myself and my spies appeared to go into a very deep, instantaneous trance. And Benjamin Krem got up. He twisted his neck around it was as close to a 360-degree turn of a neck as I've ever seen. Normally, I can stare about anybody down. I did not want to try. His eyes were abnormally bright. I attributed it to the very expensive sodium lighting they had for the video series they were obviously attempting to make. I coughed. I did everything I could to try to break the spell on people, rustled the papers on my lap. When they took the first break, there was a rather heavy-set woman sitting there. I tried to come through, and she put her knees out so I couldn't move. I said, "Excuse me." She said, "That will teach you not to rustle papers when he is speaking." I'm sure under normal circumstances she would not have dreamed of that type of social behavior. Well, Benjamin Krem had announced that after the break they should regather and they would do a mass recitation of the Great Invocation. This is the prayer by Alice Bailey, "From the point of light within the mind of God, may light stream forth," so on and so forth. It literally is a prayer for the Antichrist to come and take the world for Lucifer. And the last line of that quote prayer is, "Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth, and may it seal the door where evil dwells," which I had already learned from reading the Bailey books, that meant sealing Jews, Christians, and Muslims off into their own separate place. And basically they were going to be the phoenix that would arise from the ashes to build a new civilization. Delegates came back. The crowd was starting to thin out. It was getting close to 11 o'clock at night. He'd started at 6 p.m. at night. I guess folks had to go to work. And the woman that stood next to me, very prim, little black lady, very neat, very trim. And she looked like she could have been an activist in any Black Baptist church in Detroit, head of the altar committee or something. And I turned to her as gently as I could. And I said, "I hope it does not offend you, but I will not be reciting the Great Invocation with you. I will say my own prayer." She said, "No, honey, that's all right. We all have our own paths to God." And I said, "The reason I will not say the Great Invocation is the Scripture said very clearly the Antichrist would come and deny that Jesus was the Christ." I said, "Benjamin Krem has denied it fervently all evening on behalf of this Maitreyas character." And the woman said, "There's been many Christs." I said, "There's been one. His name is Jesus." And they turned from rows around and looked at me like I was from outer space. This is the church that the same area where Marianne Williamson later went to become guru and head of a large Michigan Unity church, and many of the same people were in attendance. And this was the Palmer Park church. She took the Warren church. At any rate, Benjamin Krem came in, and he promised the group they were going to recite the Great Invocation, and then he was going to have a transmission from Maitreyas the Christ as soon as that thing was over. But they would say the great invocation first. And his literature said he'd been overshadowed by Maitreyas the Christ everywhere and delivered a message. They started from the point of light within the mind of God, may light stream forth, and I went nice and clear, and all the acoustics in that room were wonderful. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And I did that every single stanza. And they got down to the last part and said that light and love and power restore the plan on earth, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. And I said nice and clear, may Jesus Christ return to earth and end the evil present in this room tonight. Well, the funniest thing happened, or may I say it didn't happen, and this was the spookiest thing of the whole evening. Benjamin Creme waited and waited and waited. It was clear he was not faking it. He was waiting for something to happen that never happened. This thing did not come and overshadow him. He dismissed the crowd and said, that will be all. We went out, and of course everybody's glaring at me. And Dan Butts, the one who was the master of ceremonies for the evening, glared at me. And another one said something sharp to me in Dan Butts' presence. And I said, if your new Maitreyas the Christ, Betreya the Christ, or whatever his name's supposed to be, were everything he was cracked up to be, one lousy Christian in the room reciting the Lord's Prayer shouldn't have stopped him.